Have you ever heard the nursery rhyme about King John? With 100 men he went to the hill and came down again with 100 men still. It sounds innocent, right? But what if I told you this simple rhyme hides a terrifying secret, a secret buried for centuries in the darkest corners of English history? A secret that involves King John, a pact with the devil, and an army of werewolves. Most historians remember King John as a terrible ruler, the one who lost Normandy, angered the Pope, and was forced to sign the Magna Carta. They paint him as greedy, cruel, and incompetent. But they've missed the biggest piece of the puzzle. What if his infamous cruelty wasn't just a character flaw? What if it was the sign of something far more monstrous? Let's travel back to the early 13th century. England is a land of dense forests, remote villages, and deep-seated superstitions. People believed in monsters, and for good reason. They saw them. Reports from the time, often dismissed as folklore, speak of savage, wolf-like beasts terrorizing the countryside. Not ordinary wolves, but creatures of unnatural size and cunning, with eyes that glowed with a malevolent intelligence. Official chronicles, like those written by Roger of Wendover, mention King John's obsession with the occult. He wasn't just curious. He actively sought out dark magic and surrounded himself with advisors who dabbled in forbidden arts. Why? Because John was desperate. He was losing a war with France, his own barons were plotting against him, and his kingdom was crumbling. He needed an advantage, an unholy edge that no mortal army could stand against. This is where our story takes a dark turn, according to hidden accounts and suppressed apocryphal texts. John travelled deep into the ancient forests of the Weald, a place long rumoured to be a gateway to other realms. There, under a blood moon, he allegedly made a pact, not with a foreign king, but with a primordial entity, a being of pure shadow and hunger. In exchange for his soul and the souls of his most loyal knights, he was granted command over a supernatural force, the werewolves. Think about it. Suddenly, King John's fortunes began to change, but in a brutal, horrifying way. His enemies started disappearing, not just on the battlefield, but from their own fortified castles. Barons who defied him one day were found the next, their bodies torn to shreds, their guards dead, with no signs of a human attacker. The official story was always attacked by wild animals or a tragic hunting accident, but the whispers in the taverns and the terrified prayers in the chapels told a different story. They spoke of the king's hounds, the devil's pack. Consider the siege of Rochester Castle in 1215. History tells us John used a clever tactic involving the fat of 40 pigs to burn down the castle Easekeep. But what if that was just the cover story? Local legends from Kent speak of a night of unparalleled terror during that siege. They describe monstrous howls echoing through the Medway Valley and a relentless assault on the castle walls by creatures that were neither man nor beast. The defenders weren't just defeated. They were mentally and physically broken by a fear they couldn't comprehend. The evidence is woven into the very fabric of the landscape. All across England, there are places associated with King John that also have strong werewolf legends. The forests of Sherwood, famously the home of Robin Hood, were also known as a haven for lupine men. Is it a coincidence that John spent so much time and resources trying to control that very forest? He wasn't just hunting outlaws. He was managing his monstrous assets. Even the Magna Carta, his greatest humiliation, can be seen in this light. The barons weren't just rebelling against high taxes. They were rebelling against a king they believed was a monster, in league with demons. They demanded that he renounce his unnatural allies and govern as a Christian king. Clause 61 of the Magna Carta, which creates a council of 25 barons to monitor the king, wasn't just about political oversight. It was a cage, an attempt to contain a man they feared was losing his own humanity. And what about his death? In 1216, John died suddenly at Newark Castle. The official cause was dysentery. How convenient. But other, more obscure accounts tell a different tale. They say that in his final moments the pact came due. They describe a king racked not by sickness, but by a horrifying transformation, his bones cracking, his skin stretching, his final screams turning into an animalistic howl. Did his own dark magic finally consume him? Or did his werewolf soldiers, their master gone, turn on him in a final bloody act of betrayal? The secret was buried. The church, eager to restore order, and the barons, terrified of the truth getting out, scrubbed the records. They painted John as a bad king, but a human one. The stories of werewolves were relegated to folklore, the ravings of superstitious peasants. They became children's fairy tales, but the truth never truly dies. It lingers in old songs, in local legends, and in the names of places like Wolf Pit and Beast's Hollow. The story of King John isn't just about a failed monarch. It's a chilling warning that the history we read is a carefully curated story, and that in the shadows of the past real monsters lurk. The nursery rhyme says he went up the hill and came down again with 100 men, but it never says what kind of men they were. Thank you so much for journeying into this hidden history with me. If you enjoy exploring the dark and forgotten corners of the past, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more mysteries. Let me know in the comments what you think is King John history's most monstrous king. See you next time.